Hey everybody, it's been a long time since I did a Who Told You That, but today I went to church, came back home feeling a little bit of a confirmation about some things that I've been working on, because I've been working on a Who Told You That addresses the cliche that people are in your life for a reason and for a season. And it just so happened that I went to church today. The pastor was teaching on relationships and how we need to love Christ. So I got home and I felt all empowered to finish up that segment that I'm writing on, people being in your life for a reason and a season. But this Who Told You That is not going to be about that. So when I got home, I get online and I see that relationships were covered in a couple of different services today across the area. And so one of the things that I saw was that people in one church were given a completely different contradictory message to the message that I received today, which is that God is a God of love. And they were told that when someone doesn't like you, you put that person on ignore. So that is the reason for this Who Told You That today. So that mindset is just not one that is covered in Scripture. Nowhere in the Scripture does God mandate us to put somebody on ignore. In fact, if we look at the Scripture tells us that if we're having conflict with one another, we need to come together to find a place to agree, or you continue to love your enemy until there's an agreement is achieved. So and just in Christians as a whole, is that we begin to love material things more than we love people. And instead of seeking to change that mindset and going to God and saying, you know what, God, there is something in me that is not like you. There is something in me that thinks that it's more acceptable to cast a person aside than to come back to that person and find a way where we can walk together and agree. And in that, I need you to heal me. I need you to take out of me whatever it is that is causing me to not be like you and make it into something that is like you. And so, unfortunately, you know, what happens is that many times the more successful we become in life, the better we become in our spiritual walk, the less tolerant we are for people that don't necessarily fit into our mold. So what somebody doesn't like you? That's not your business. What your business is to stay committed to what you say. And what you say is, as a Christian, Christ, that I'm a follower of Christ, that I'm going to do what you tell me to do, and that you love the Lord and I just want to be more like you, Jesus. But if you have enemies, instead of you treating those people like Christ would treat them, you'd rather say to people who talk against you that, you know, I don't want to deal with that, or you don't need to be in my life. When the Scripture is clear that we need to love our enemies, and love is patient, love is kind. Romans 13:8 says that you owe no man nothing but to love them. Because when we love one another, then we fulfill the law with humility, gentleness, patience, bearing with one another in love. And then the Scripture goes on to say, beloved, let us love one another. For love is of God, and whoever loves him has been born of God and knows God. So guess what? Everybody didn't like Jesus, but that didn't alter the sacrifice that he made. A sacrifice that was made with those who loved him in mind, and a sacrifice that was made with those who didn't love him in mind. And why did he do it? He did it because he was going to fulfill the will of his Father. And if God said to do it, that was all that mattered to him, and he honored God with his life. You cannot honor God if you're going to continue to make up your own rules along the way. This right here, this is the law. And within here is the mandate that has been given for us for our lives, or how we're to govern life situations. You are lying to yourself if you think that you are honoring God by governing your life by these spiritual cliches that are made up by a man. When this was written, God was not concerned about our opinion. So we have two choices in this situation. One is to continue to twist this around and make it to conform to our every whim, or the other is to accept this for what it is. It is the final authority over our lives. It is the mandate that we are to use to govern our lives, and we need to conform to it. At the end of the day, when we're dealing with relationships, there is one thing that must be the prevailing factor, and that is, for God so loved the world. And if God so loved the world and I'm following him, I simply do not have the choice not to love them. So this has been Who Told You That. Thank you for your time. You know, these are all about making our lives better and making sure that we're working with one another and bearing with one another and living that better life that we've all been promised. Have a great day.